Our last video in the Game of the Year series for 2021, very late, I know, is the top 10 games that I played in 2021. And these games didn't necessarily come out in 2021. These games could have came out at any point over the course of the year or the years. But I want to talk about these games here. You will definitely hear some crossover between what won awards and what is here. But first off, some honorable mentions. Luna's Fishing Garden was a really, really fun idle game that I had a lot of fun with on PC. I loved the art style. I loved the story, short as it was, and didn't take me very long to beat it at all, but I very much enjoyed my time with it. 100% recommend it. Loop Hero is such a weird, cool game that I wish that I enjoyed the core loop of a little more, is maybe the way to put it. But I think the core loop is really solid, and I very much enjoy the premise of it, even if I don't enjoy playing it as much as I enjoyed playing some of these other games on the list. So I definitely wanted to give it a shout out. Balan Wonderworld is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life, and so it has to get a shout out here for what the heck. And then the final shout out is Warframe. Warframe is super good still, and I haven't got to play the new war stuff yet, but I'm super excited to. It's very, very good. I wanted to go ahead and shout out combat cards here, but I feel like, you heard me talk about it enough already in Best Mobile. But again, it's a good game. I like card games, and combat cards is a very good card game. And speaking of, number 10 for the best games that I played this year, my favorite games, top 10 games I played in 2021 is Inscription. You've heard me gush about this game a lot already, but it is very, very interesting. I love games that make you think, games that do things that have never been done in games before. I played a lot of games over the years for this channel, for the channel I used to be a part of, for gaming reviews that I used to write. I have played a lot of video games, and something that does something new and unique while also still being really, really high quality always grabs my attention. And so Inscription 100% had to be on this list. Number 9 is Wilder Myth. Wilder Myth is such a weird, cool idea as well. A strategy game, almost like a tactics game, with like a Fire Emblem-like, with procedurally generated story that just goes wild with it and just lets you have all kinds of crazy changes. Characters who get wolf's heads and get lightning in their body or gem embedded in their body. It's really, really cool, and I think it's 100% worth a try. I think you will get wild with your campaign as well and have a bunch of crazy moments in there. And, who knows? Maybe you'll have a mythic journey with Wilder Myth. Number 8 is Genshin Impact. I've continued to play Genshin Impact over the years. I say years, it's been 2. I really, really love Genshin Impact still. I love everything to do with the new character that has just come out recently. I say recently, it's been a little bit. There's been like 2 new characters since then now. Ito, and I really, really enjoy the story, where it's going. I think that it's only gotten better. Inazuma is such a cool place, and I'm really looking forward to the chasm and everything coming there. There are some issues still that the game has, of course. I really wish that you could get some of the later Ascension materials earlier on. If I have a friend, for instance, that goes to play now and they get Yae Miko, they're not going to be able to upgrade her past level 20 for a long time. So, would like some of that. But at the same time, I think that the core gameplay is still really, really fun. And a lot of the new events have been really good. They've continued to churn out events. They give a lot of cool freebies. Genshin Impact is still a really, really fun game to play. After that, number 7 is Monster Hunter Rise. I love Monster Hunter. I've been very vocal about that, and I love Monster Hunter Rise. There are videos that still haven't been made public on this channel where I just played a bunch of Monster Hunter Rise and didn't think it was very good and unlisted the video. But I think that this is one of those games that you go in, you hunt a little bit, you go out, or you go in and you hunt all day. The new combat is really, really good with the wire bug and the silk binds. All the weapons feel great. I wish we had Tonfa's back, but I'm really excited for the expansion, and Monster Hunter Rise has just been a blast to play all throughout the year. I haven't put as much time into it as I wanted. I really would like to be ready for the expansion when it comes out, but I put probably 60 hours into it, and that's rookie numbers for Monster Hunter, right? but I really enjoyed my time with it, and I can't wait for more. Number 6 is Super Robot Wars 30. What a cool game. Not as focused as previous games have been. It's kind of all over the place when it comes to like what order you do missions in. The choice is really up to you. But I think that where it trades that focus in for, the reward of all the units that you get and all the customization that you get is more than worth it. You can really just deck your guys out, just have a great time in Super Robot Wars 30. And they know that. Your deployment slots are very low, but it means that you can make different teams to be able to send out. And I think it's just really, really fun to play. The story is also really good, even if you get it in chunks because it's divvied up the way it is. But I very much enjoy my time with Super Robot Wars 30. It is such a great game. 100% worth a play if you're somebody that loves giant mechs or loves any of the anime involved. It even has Ultraman and Gridman, which is nuts to me and so cool. So absolutely recommend Super Robot Wars 30. Number 5 for me is Resident Evil Village, a very, very cool game that there's not really words to explain how much fun I have when playing it. I'm somebody that struggles with spooky games, and yet Village is one of those that just really works for me. I love running this game. I wish I was better at speedrunning, and that's just practice, right? But I don't really have time for it. But I wish I was better at speedrunning because I would 100% speedrun this game. It's so much fun to just blitz through it. I think that the limited ammo in a lot of ways really just makes it even better because you're constantly having to switch up weapons and rely on, trying to make sure you're using your traps right or your knife right and making sure you have enough ammo to be able to make it through the next encounter. It's a really, really fun game. The story's great. It has some great characters in it. I love Village as a game. There's no way it wasn't going to be top 5. Number 4 for me is Metroid Dread. I love Metroid, and Dread is just another great Metroid. Having to run from the Eddies is really cool, and having to deal with everything. I almost spoiled some stuff. Everything going on in the story is really cool. But at the end of the day, it's just that basic exploration that I think is really, really solid. I love just playing Metroid Dread in a way that I wish more games coming out today focused on how much fun they are to play instead of like big, huge set pieces. Not to say Metroid Dread doesn't have some very cool set pieces. I do think it's also very difficult, but that's not a bad thing. It just means that you gotta, spend some time with it. I really enjoyed my time with Metroid Dread, and I can't wait to see what they do next. And that's the exact same thing I said in the Game of the Year video, so go back and check that one out if you haven't seen it yet, where I talk more about Metroid Dread. Number 3 is Ender Lilies. Ender Lilies is such a cool game. The story is really great and really mysterious as you unravel what happened to this kingdom. The characters are really interesting and very tragic. The gameplay is really solid. I love the spirit system and being able to mix and match the different spirits to get all kinds of crazy different combinations. There are master spirits that are obviously much stronger, but even the basic spirits can still become very strong. There is a little bit of grinding involved if you want to get them all leveled up, but it's really not that bad, especially because you're going to cap out level-wise pretty early on and then get quite a bit of XP from there to be able to spend. I think the game is a little easy. It didn't take me very long to beat it all, and some of the boss fights I beat on my first try. But other than that, I think this is an incredible game that really, really hit on all the different levels for me of story and cast and music. The music's so good. Love Ender Lilies to death. Number 2, and I'm cheating, is the entirety of the Trails series. And I say I'm cheating because if not, this list would be Trails of Cold Steel 1, Trails of Cold Steel 2, Trails of Cold Steel 1, Trails in the Sky first chapter, Trails of Cold Steel 2, Trails to Azure? No, Trails to Zero? Trails to Zero. Trails of Cold Steel 3, Trails in the Sky third, Trails to Azure, Trails of Cold Steel 4, Trails in the Sky second chapter. And that would be 9 of the list. So I'm cheating. Trails, the entire series, is taking up the second slot. Because if not for a different game, they would be the best games I played all year. Specifically, Trails in the Sky Second Chapter, Trails in the Sky Third, Trails to Azure, Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4. All 5 of those games are incredible. I think the entire series is great, but out of those 5, Trails in the Sky Second Chapter has become my second favorite game of all time. And absolutely is a great, incredible game. But there's another game that I think I enjoyed my time with just a little bit more. Came out this year. And you say, well, how does that count when Trails in the Sky Second Chapter is your second favorite game of all time now? Well, Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, Trails to Sky First Chapter, those aren't my second. So I think that total, this other game deserves to be in the number 1 spot. But the entirety of the Trails saga is incredible. I can't wait to play Kuro. And I think that, and Reverie. And I think that 100% they're worth playing. If you've never played those games before, they're long. They're so long. They took me most of the year to play, but they're so good. I love the Trails franchise and 100% recommend it. At least the Sky Trilogy, if you just really want to get your foot in the door. Or the Cold Steel Quadrilogy if you want, but you're going to miss out on a lot of context with the other games. But yeah, 100% recommend the Trails series. What an incredible series of games. And number 1 is Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. You saw this coming. You knew what was going to happen. I'm a huge Final Fantasy XIV mark. There was no way it wasn't going to wind up being Endwalker. Endwalker's so good, and it does everything I wanted it to do without even realizing that's what I wanted. It's so good. The only real complaint I have is that I don't love all the role quests. But even then, that's such a minor complaint. Endwalker's super good, and it's only going to get better as more patch cycles come out. And even if it doesn't, I still think it absolutely deserves the top spot. There is a moment in the final zone where the background music for the final zone changes forever. And you have to walk up a flight of stairs, basically. One of the best moments in all of video games. Hands down. So, let me know what your top 10 games that you played in 2021 are. Again, not all these games had to come out in 2021. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum life has to offer.